I want to speak to you today from my heart. Life is too short, too precious to spend it in constant worry. We wake up with burdens pressing on our minds. We go to bed still carrying them. And somewhere in between, we forget that God has given us a day, this day, as a gift. I believe we were not created to be prisoners of fear, but to live in the freedom of His peace. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly down in the comments. What is the one thing that keeps you up at night? What is the worry that drains your joy? Write it down. Speak it out. Sometimes naming our fear is the first step to letting it go. I've met thousands of people around the world who have told me I can't be happy until my problems go away. But friend, problems are a part of life. If we wait for a problem-free life to find joy, we will wait until the grave. Jesus said, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." That means your joy doesn't have to depend on your circumstances. It rests on something, on someone unshakable. I know some of you might be thinking, but my situation is different. My pain is deeper. My worries are heavier. I won't pretend to know the full weight of what you carry, but I do know this. No worry is bigger than God's power, and no fear is greater than His love. Worry is like a thief. It steals your peace before the storm even comes. Faith is the opposite. It's trusting the one who commands the storm to be still. When I was younger in my ministry, I would sometimes find myself lying awake at night, thinking of all the challenges ahead, the people to reach, the places to go, the opposition to face. But over and over again, I heard the quiet voice of God reminding me, "Be still and know that I am God." I had to learn that my job was not to figure everything out, but to trust the one who already had. Friend, you and I cannot control tomorrow. We cannot even control the next 5 minutes, but we can control where we place our trust. Worry says, "What if?" Faith says, "Even if." Even if the worst happens, God is still good. Even if the answer doesn't come the way I want, His plan is still perfect. Some people think happiness is found in what they own, where they live, or what other people think about them. But I have met people in the poorest villages of Africa who had more joy than millionaires in New York City. The difference was not in what they had, but in who had their heart. When Christ fills your heart, He fills it with peace that no bank account, no job title, and no human praise could ever match. You see, happiness is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of God. That's why Paul, writing from prison, could say, "Rejoice in the Lord always." I will say it again, rejoice. He wasn't ignoring his chains. He was choosing to focus on the one who could break them. Maybe you've been trying to carry the weight of the world on your own shoulders. No wonder you're tired. No wonder you're anxious. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." That's not a suggestion. It's an invitation, and it's for you today. I challenge you. Every time worry starts creeping into your mind this week, stop and pray. Not a long, complicated prayer, just a simple surrender. Lord, I give this to you. I trust you with it. Then breathe deep and move forward. You may have to do it 50 times a day. That's okay. Every act of surrender is a step toward peace. Sometimes we think that if we don't worry, we're being irresponsible, but that's not true. Worry doesn't make you responsible. It makes you miserable. Planning is good, preparing is wise, but after you've done all you can, worrying only adds weight without adding wisdom. When my children were small, they never stayed awake at night wondering if there would be breakfast in the morning. They trusted their mother and me to provide it. And if we, being human, can care for our children, how much more will our Heavenly Father care for His own? I want to speak directly to someone listening right now who feels trapped in a constant cycle of anxiety. You're checking your phone every few minutes, scrolling through news headlines, looking at your bank account, wondering how you're going to make it. I want you to know that God sees you. He knows what you need before you ask Him, and He is faithful. We live in a world that tells us to do more, have more, be more. But the happiest people I have ever met are those who have learned to rest in who God says they are, forgiven, loved, chosen, secure. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. You are valuable because God made you and Christ died for you. If you're worried about the future, let me give you a truth that has carried me through decades of ministry. The same God who has been faithful in your past will be faithful in your future. Look back for a moment. Remember the times you thought you wouldn't make it, and yet here you are. That's not luck, that's God's hand. I remember a time when our ministry faced a huge obstacle. The doors we thought would open stayed closed. The resources we thought we had disappeared. People said it couldn't be done, but God made a way where there was no way. And when He did, I realized something. All my worrying during those months hadn't moved the situation forward 1 inch. It had only robbed me of sleep. Friend, I'm not telling you to ignore your problems. I'm telling you to hand them over to the one who can actually do something about them. Pray as if it all depends on God, and because it does. And work as if He's already paving the way, because He is. You might ask, well, but what if I trust God and things still go wrong? That's the beauty of faith. God's goodness is not proven by our comfort. It is proven by His presence in our pain. When you walk through the valley, He walks with you. When the storm rages, He's in the boat. When the fire comes, He stands in the flames beside you. Some of you listening have been holding on to anger, resentment, or fear for so long that it feels like part of your identity. But God didn't create you to be defined by your wounds. He created you to be defined by His grace. And grace says you can start again. You can let go. You can live free. I want to give you a challenge for today. Write down 3 things you are grateful for. They don't have to be big things. Maybe it's the breath in your lungs, the sunlight through the window, a friend who checked in on you. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have, and that shift is the birthplace of joy. Every day you have a choice. You can let worry dictate your mood, your words, your decisions, or you can choose to trust God and live in the peace He offers. I can't make that choice for you, but I can tell you from my own life that trusting Him is worth it. This isn't just about positive thinking. It's about surrendering to the truth that the God who made the universe is holding your life in His hands. You can either cling to your fear or you can cling to Him, but you can't do both. So I ask you again, what is the one thing you're worried about right now? Name it. Hand it over to God, and then choose to rejoice. Not because everything is perfect, but because you know the one who holds tomorrow. And when you wake up tomorrow, do it again, and again the next day. Because happiness isn't found in a single moment. It's built in the daily habit of trusting God over and over until worry loses its grip and peace takes its place. Friend, life is too short to be lived under the shadow of fear. Let today be the day you step out into the light of God's love. Breathe deeply and say with confidence, "It is well with my soul." Let me leave you with this. I've learned over the years that happiness is not a prize at the end of a race. It's the posture of a heart that trusts God in every step. When we live with that posture, we stop obsessing over what's around the corner, and we start enjoying the road we're on. Even the hard parts become part of the testimony God is writing in our lives. I want you to picture your life as a set of open hands. When your hands are clenched tight, holding onto worry, fear, and control, nothing new can come in. But when you open your hands, God can fill them with peace, with provision, with joy you didn't expect. Sometimes the very thing you're afraid to let go of is the thing that's keeping you from receiving what God has for you. We often spend so much time asking, what if things go wrong? But what if things go right? What if the breakthrough you've been praying for is already on its way? What if the situation that looks hopeless today is the very thing God will use to show His power tomorrow? You see, faith dares to believe that God's promises are more real than our fears. In all my travels, I've met people whose lives were marked by unspeakable tragedy, yet they radiated a peace that the world could not understand. And do you know what they had in common? They didn't let the pain of their past dictate the joy of their present. They had decided, and it is a decision, to anchor their hearts in the love of Christ. I remember visiting a small church after a natural disaster had wiped out nearly everything the people owned. The building was half destroyed, but the people gathered anyway, singing hymns with tears streaming down their faces. And one elderly man stood up and said, "We may have lost our homes, but we have not lost our hope." That's the kind of faith that makes worry powerless. Maybe you've been waiting for life to settle down before you start enjoying it. But I can tell you from experience, it never truly settles. There will always be something to tempt you into fear or distraction. That's why joy has to be a daily choice. And the more you choose it, the stronger it grows. So here's what I want you to do before you go to bed tonight. Take a few minutes and talk honestly with God. Tell him what's on your heart, the big things, the little things, the secret things you've never told anyone. Then in your own words say, "Lord, I give this to you." Don't just say it with your lips. Mean it in your spirit. And when those worries try to creep back in, remind yourself, I've already given that to God. It's not mine to carry anymore. I know this isn't easy. It takes practice. Some days you'll do well, other days you'll find yourself slipping back into old patterns. But even then, God's grace will meet you right where you are. He's not asking for perfection, He's asking for trust. And I want you to hear me on this. You can be happy every single day, not because every day is good, but because God is good every day. Happiness is not about pretending the pain isn't real. It's about remembering that God's presence is more real than the pain. So walk into tomorrow with your head high and your heart light. Choose to believe that whatever comes, you and God will face it together. And when you do, you'll find that the grip of worry begins to fade, replaced by the deep, unshakable joy that only He can give. Now, friend, go live your life, not in fear of what might happen, but in faith of what God will do. And remember, this very moment is a gift. Don't waste it on worry. Fill it with gratitude. Fill it with faith. Fill it with joy. And if you're hearing this and something inside you says, I want that kind of peace, then start today. Trust Him. Hand Him the burden. And let the joy of the Lord be your strength, not just for today, but for every day He gives you.